Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Inner Conquest, the world's greatest modern metaphysics channel. I'm your host, Jacob Edens, and today we are reorientating ourselves back to the 12 Qualities of Mind by young Neville Goddard. So, the reason that these are important is because there are 12 distinct qualities of mind, okay? And if you look at different individuals on YouTube, like individuals like Darius J. Wright and some other people, they discuss that there are 12 dimensional or 13 dimensional structures in the brain. So essentially what that means is that your brain has different access to different segments of reality, right? So when you think of having access to different segments of reality, what that means is that, you can use your mind to essentially look at pictures. You can hold feeling states with a non-visual capacity, right? Like you can understand what it feels like to have something with that inner man sensory perception. You can revise things through imaginal acts. So if you have something that didn't go the way you wanted it to, you have the ability to, in the now moment, see it again and then revise it as if it happened the way that you wanted to. You have memory, you have imagination, you have speech ability. The two things that will carry man into immortality are mind and speech, another great Neville Goddard quote. So understanding your mind is really important because it's the controller. So if you understand how to use the controller, then you can play the game really well, right? It's like a base skill set for mastering the game. So if you're going to play an Xbox game or you're going to play a computer game and you don't understand how to use the keyboard or you don't understand how to use the controller, then you're going to be severely handicapped in your ability to consciously create what you want to create or do what you want to do. So understanding these 12 aspects are important because everybody has these 12 aspects, these 12 qualities. However, they're undisciplined in the beginning, or better yet, underutilized. Because in our normal school process, we're not taught how to think. We're not taught about dimensional spaces. We're not taught about frequency. We're not taught about the basic molecular mechanical building blocks of how reality comes into being from what you would call no thing or ether, or, they call it in biblical scripture the Father, right? That blind awareness from which everything comes out of, right? So understanding how creation works and then understanding how your brain interfaces with the reality of your mind is very important, because that's what you're stuck with. You have your mind all the time, right? So understanding its different faculties, understanding which aspects are not disciplined, and by disciplined I mean working for you versus working against you, is of the utmost critical importance, because once they are all in order, you now have an operative system that can execute your commands. If you don't have, Neville calls it a disorganized mob that turns into a well-functioning fighting force, right? So when you have a dysfunctional mind, it's like herding cats, right? I want to do this, but then all sorts of different things start popping up that are not what you want, and it just makes everything harder. So you want to have a disciplined, organized mind, and that begins first with understanding what the different aspects of the mind are. So when we go through the 12 qualities, understand that you have all 12 qualities. It's really a process of just understanding that these 12 qualities, what they look like when they're disciplined, and then reorienting yourself through either an I am type of affirmative statement or an identity programming that these within you are now perfectly disciplined and executing at the level that you want them to execute at, because you have that potentiality within you. You simply need to be aware that that potentiality is there, and then you need to claim that potentiality as a present reality. I am so happy and grateful now that all 12 aspects of my mind are working perfectly in a disciplined way. And as you begin to affirm that, you'll see your mind literally come online like Neo in the Matrix and be like, oh my goodness, I was imagining dumb things and dumb things kept happening. Now I'm imagining awesome things and awesome things keep happening, right? So let's go through these 12 qualities. I'll either do all of them, or if the video runs too long, I'll break it up into 2 segments, but I'll spend as much time as I feel is necessary on each one of them. The first attribute or quality of the mind is the attribute of hearing. Simon Peter, who becomes the rock unmoved, okay? This first attribute is the foundation all on which all other 11 principles are built. This is all about permitting ourselves to only pay heed to the words in which we want to hear and disregard those that are not in alignment with who we are and wish to hear. Essentially, it's about filtering out the negatives and only letting the good in. We are the gatekeeper of our own consciousness, for we know that if we let words in, they will leave an impression. I'm not impressed. I am impressed. Think about that word. The instruction to Simon is that he should permit only honorable visitors or impressions to enter the house. Consciousness is the house. Any mistake in allowing dishonorable or unhelpful impressions pass through the gate, without exception, become reality. We listen to nothing but truth, perfect love, health, and wealth. Meaning that if you have your subconscious mind, right, is still your conscious mind, but what it is essentially your autonomic nervous system and extroverted reality. Okay, you could put it like that. So when I have my heart, I don't think about beating my heart. That is subconsciously regulated. Now I can become conscious and I can control that process through placing my awareness on it, right? You see, like divers understand how to slow their heart rate. So it's not that you don't have conscious control over it, it's that you have regulated it in an automatic way because you don't want to think about growing new skin cells. You don't want to think about making sure your heart is beating perfect, so you put it into what's called a subconscious category, which means it's essentially on a loop, right? It's looping. It's going perfect every single time. So when you have your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, 5% of your mind, they've stated, is conscious, and like 95% of it is subconscious, right? Really, when you become awake, everything is conscious, but at the same time, for argument's sake, we can use that scientific theory. So I focus and I make decisions, okay? What I want to make my decisions based upon are what type of programs am I allowing into my subconscious mind, because I know that once they have become planted in my mind, they're going to be reaped and sown, right? So they're going to express themselves. When Mike Tyson was boxing, his boxing coach brainwashed him continually with affirmations of "you're the greatest, you're a killer, you win, you crush," all of these different programs saturating his consciousness, and look what manifested from that. A champion manifested from that, right? So your natural talent and ability would get you so far, but understanding that your real Garden of Eden is your ability to plant thoughts into your mind and allow them to flourish gives you the awareness that if you want to consciously cultivate your life, then you want to be able to prune the tree of unwanted things, right? So if you have the understanding that everything is a reflection of you, right? Through, you could call it your point of attraction, if you want to take a law of attraction standpoint, your assumptions, if you want to take a law of assumption standpoint, your mental programs, if you want to take a scientific Dr. Joe Dispenza type lens, right? So when you have something that happens externally, that thing didn't just happen, right? It wasn't that a second cause caused that. It was your participation in a co-creative event, right? So if you want to reshape a co-creative event, you want to take responsibility for the creation of that event, not because if something's bad, you deserve to be punished, right? But because without that personal responsibility, you don't have control over changing the outcome into something that you want, right? So when you have something that comes into your mind and you're thinking about a person and it's negative and you're like, oh God, F this person, they're doing this thing, da 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 da. You want to understand that imaginative act is a precursor to a aligned people, place, or circumstantial event, okay? So that creative genesis in your mind is going to precede you into the future, and you will run into something that is in alignment with that mental activity. So you want to curtail that mental activity the second that it begins to go not in your direction, right? So when you have a gatekeeper in your mind, which is Simon Peter the Rock, the unmoved, you first have to base that on an ideal, okay? So if your ideal is that all of your relationships are perfect and harmonious, and then you have mental activity which is in opposition to that, of this person either yelling at you or you're yelling at them and you're like, this person's not doing me right? That is what's called a sin because it's a miss. Archery term, sinning, ancient words means to miss. It's all sin means is to miss. Don't correlate that with anything negative emotion wise. Okay. All that means is to miss. So when you have an ideal and your mental activity is missing the ideal, it cannot be allowed to persist. Okay. So that's where your gatekeeper comes in and goes, no, my relationships are harmonious and perfect. You revise it on the spot. You see it as if it is the way that you want it to be right now, because you understand that that mental imaginative act is going to precede a future event of what you could call a manifestation or a person, place, or circumstantial event that is in alignment with the frequency of whatever that imaginative act is. So in order to control your external world and to create it the way that you want it to, you have to control that inner space, right? This channel is called Inner Conquest because we control that inner realm that precedes the external, right? So as you begin to develop this different gatekeeper, you won't allow things to slide that you used to allow to slide. Meaning that, you have a little imaginative act and you're like, oh, whatever, let's keep going on about my day. No, you revise that on the spot. And the other thing to mention too is that when you practice this skill set, your mind will begin to automatically do these things, right? You will build what's called unconscious competency, meaning that in the beginning, it takes a little bit of work to do, but these 12 qualities of mind are your birthright. They're not a cool little skill set that a couple people have access to. Every single person has the ability to discipline these, and the ramifications in terms of results of disciplining these aspects are unbelievable, because not understanding this stuff is the root of all problems, right? So as you have this gatekeeper, right, what you want to also understand is that it is much nobler to imagine solutions to life rather than allowing problems to persist. Meaning that if you have a quote unquote problem, right, the only thing that really keeps that problem there is a non-persistent imaginative solution, which has already been created. So you could even call that just aligning to a solution, right? If you have a chronic illness or chronic something, it's literally just the fact that that type of programming, that type of thought, that type of state of consciousness has gotten into your subconscious, into your electromagnetic field, and is now magnetizing it to you over and over and over again. And then what happens is you see physical evidence, you feel the feeling, and then you loop it back over and over and over again. So it can take a little bit of focus to break that loop, but you break that loop internally first, right? A lot of people are trying to fix themselves by doing a bunch of external things, but they never fix the core identity that is the root cause of it, right? So by understanding that gatekeeper and understanding that you can imagine new solutions in wake of anything that is happening to you gives you ultimate control over access to the Garden of Eden, which is your subconscious mind, which creates everything. So we're already 12 minutes in. We haven't even done one of the qualities. We just did one of them. There's 12 of them. So I'm going to do another video on the second one, which is Andrew, which is courage. A lot of people find that when we talk about unconditional love, right? Unconditional love has been co-opted by a lot of New Age philosophy to be like lovey-dovey, feeling good. Unconditional love is more akin to courage, right? If you think about a woman who loves her kid, there is no barrier that woman will not pierce through to save that kid, right? Meaning that woman will literally do anything to ensure that kid is okay. That's real love, right? So Andrew, the second aspect, the second quality of mind that we'll talk about in the next video is more akin to courage, meaning that is a certainty, it is a gnosis, it is a knowing that once you make that mental assumption, you do not deviate in that fourth dimensional thought process from that until it physically manifests. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. The link tree has all of the coaching. If you want to do the Spartan 1, just watch the video before you sign up for it. Additionally, there's the regular coaching, the email, all that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. The most important thing I have to say today is go conquer, and I'll see you in the next one.